What's up? What's up? You are hanging with the Niners nut. And we are going to be reviewing the 49ers recent draft class from 2022. And without further ado, let's just get into the obvious, if you will. So, for those of you that tuned in to watch the draft, obviously, I think for the most part, a lot of people were somewhat satisfied. Um, I was satisfied for a couple of reasons. Obviously, coming into this draft, they didn't have the first round draft pick. Of course, we know the whole sad story. I don't think I need to get into because unless you've been living on another planet these last couple of months. Um, you all know the story. We didn't have the first round draft pick, and therefore we don't have one for next year. Of course, this all had to do with the trade for Trey Lance last year, and because of that, we sacrificed a lot. And as you can see, we had one in the second, two in the third, one in the fourth, one in the fifth, three in the sixth, one in the seventh. Tell you the truth, for some reason or another, I thought we would have had more. I thought we were going to have a couple more draft picks coming into this. I thought John Lynch could have maneuvered a few different ways to get some more draft picks. Even if we couldn't get a first round pick, I would have liked to have seen him go after and get some more draft capital, maybe multiple picks in, you know, the third or fourth or fifth round, but that just didn't happen because again, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks, which to me isn't a bad amount, but compared to what we gave away in the next 2 years, including this year, I would have liked to have seen more capital. I'm a big fan of draft picks, man. I like the way the Patriots do things. I like the way the Ravens do things. They draft multiple amounts of players, whether they sign them or not, whether those players turn out, whatever happens. But for the most part, a lot of those guys are blue collar players. What I mean is they don't come out like studs in the first round. They come out in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round and can either turn into a blue collar player, which is someone I consider a very talented player who turns into be a long running member of a certain team, or turns into a stud, or turns into a bust. I don't think there's any other way to cut it. Those are the three types of players that I like to see come out of the draft. And teams, like I said, the Ravens and the Patriots always seem to have a lot of capital when it comes into the drafts, and they're able to, find these players for the most part. And again, we've seen so many of them come out. I don't even have to mention it. Whether it's Tom Brady came out a late pick, and so many others that in the Patriots organization. Same thing with the Ravens, man. They do a really good job. I guess they have really good scouts. But I digress going back to the 49ers. Yeah, I would have wished that we would have had some more capital, but it is what it is. For the most part, I thought that we made the best we could. I think there was a couple of shocks in there. I was kind of shocked at the second pick, the third round pick of Tyrion Davis Price. Not, I was shocked at him. I was just shocked to see us go running back when, you've got Mitchell, you've got Sermon, you've got Jeff Wilson, Jermichael Hasty. So obviously, Kyle Shanahan is mad about his running backs, and but look, it's never a diss at Davis Price. I hope he turns out to be a friggin' stud. Saw some of the video. I like what I see out of him. Danny Gray, Spencer Burford, Samuel Womack, Nick Zakilj, I don't know how to pronounce his friggin' name. Kalia Davis, Tariq Castro Fields, and Brock Purdy. I love that guy's friggin' name. He obviously, the last pick of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. I hope for his sake he turns out to be a good player, or last in the NFL. Maybe not with us, but somewhere else. But I hope he turns out just to stick it up everybody else who kind of had a nasty thing to say about stick it up their ass. I love an underdog, man. But let's get into this. If we shall. And let's see, obviously looking up the obvious, Drake Jackson first. 6'4", 250. If you saw the video on him, looked pretty interesting, man. Only 21 years of age. Is going to look at some college stats, if you will. Spent 3 years with USC, obviously a very prestigious school in the Pac-12, and obviously got better. Well, he had that second season where I guess he had some injuries. He only played in 6 games. But you see in his freshman year, he seemed to tear things apart, man. I'm not bad for a freshman. Playing defensive line, he had, you know, 46 total tackles, 11 and a half of those for a loss, and 5.5 sacks. In the second season, in his sophomore year, looked like he went backwards a little bit with injury, missed some time. And then, of course, in his junior year, second time playing linebacker, he was able to generate similar numbers to his freshman year, especially in sacks, 5 sacks, 8 for loss, 37 total tackles. So, look, I wonder where we're going to use this guy. Him being 6'4", 250 coming off the line is going to be really interesting because I think that we obviously needed a defensive presence, without a doubt. We needed something on that defensive line. I think everybody knew we were going to go defense, especially after the loss of Arden Key, the loss of Contavious Street. I don't know what's going to happen come next year. I mean, just thinking of the defensive unit, obviously, we got several players back. Dre Greenlaw will be back. As well as Hizir Akeem. I'm screwing up these names. Uh, they've solidified a couple different positions. The defensive line went through a couple of different changes. Obviously, the loss of DJ Jones, I should say. Javon Kinlaw hopefully will be back. And of course, Bosa and Armstead. It's going to be interesting to see where Jackson fits in. I don't think he's going to come into the season being a starter. I could be 100% wrong. I think it also depends on the health of D Ford. That's been the thing. What is going on with D Ford? Okay, he missed all last season with the neck injury. For what we were told is that his career was pretty much over, and then we're hearing reports of he may be able to play. Well, listen, I love D Ford. I think his best days are definitely over, and I think that neck injury has really just obviously hindered his whole playing ability. He was good with us when he played in sparing time, but I don't think we're obviously going to get the same amount of good stuff at him anymore. Probably that's where Drake Jackson's going to fill in and take that role. You can put him on the edge. You can put him as an outside linebacker. I like that, especially at his height of 6'4", 250. And depending on how quick he is to adapt to the new game, I think it's going to be really important to see where he's used. I hope he gets used right off the bat. I think with the talent he looks like to seem to have, he could possibly see some playing time, see some, I want to say mid-level playing time, and it would be great to really get him in there. And of course, hey, look, man, we've seen stranger things where players have come in, done damage, and, been studs. I hope it works out, but I think it was a really good move to go defense. We needed another edge rusher. You can never have enough edge rushers. Especially like I said, after we lost Arden Key, which was a tremendous loss to us. And even though I know Drake Jackson isn't an interior lineman, to lose DJ Jones, another force that allowed these outside pass rushers to generate pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, it's going to be good to have another outside rusher. Hopefully, Javon Kinlaw can step in there and do what we drafted him to do. So I think that was a really good move. Moving on to Tyrion Davis Price, as I said before, I think a lot of people, as myself, were shocked to see us go running back, being the running back pedigree that we already have. But like I said before, Shanny loves his running backs, okay? He finds a way for them to get involved. I really wish he would find a way to get Juice the ball more out of the backfield in terms of a receiver, but that's a whole other story. So, if Davis Price comes into camp, everything works out well. He's obviously got a group of guys in front of him. You got Mitchell, who turned into an obvious stud. You've got Jeff Wilson, who I love. I think every Niner fan loves his sort of nasty running style. You got Jermichael Hasty, who's kind of a change-up type back, very athletic. And then you have Sermon, who no one knows what to make of. It was a disappointing rookie year for him when a lot of the spotlight was on him to be the stud starter, supposedly. And of course, we didn't have Raheem Mostert. We lost him to injury. He goes to Miami. So now Davis Price has got to come in here, and he's got to, obviously work his tail off like all rookies do. But it's going to be interesting to see where he stands. I like his size, 6'1", 232. I like that. Looking at his film, his limited films that I've seen, he looks like a nasty back who could throw that little pop. I've heard so much negative shit about this guy, I just don't understand why. I think a lot of it's coming from a standpoint of why did we go running back? But again, you can't just tune into that and negate the talent he may have. I mean, again, looking at his numbers, 6'1", 232 is nothing to shy away from. And I'll tell you the truth, I think that the game needs more nasty backs who can give a pop than these guys who are more elusive and want to kind of go around the tackle or around, the tacklers, I should say. Obviously, you can't have a Derrick Henry for every team, but I think that's a lot of what we need a lot of the time is, especially in San Francisco. We need a Juice is the guy that does the dirty work and just gets in there and stumps people. Now we're using Kittle as the same way, and we need a guy other than Jeff Wilson, who's got a little nasty streak to him. We've seen Debo be used out of the backfield too, and Debo gives you a little pop too. I mean, but Debo doesn't have, obviously the same body frame as this guy, Davis Price, who at 6'1", 232. I mean, when you think about it, you think of, height-wise to weight-wise, the ratio is pretty damn good. I wonder if he's going to lose weight coming in or if he's going to actually go up in weight and get a little more muscular. It should be interesting to see. But again, watch some of his films, man. They're interesting. Okay, I like the fact that he can give a pop, which I think is, which we need, man. And just going back, looking at some stats here, I know stats aren't everything, especially when it comes to college football players and stuff like that. But I think you have to take it into consideration. Now, I know at his time in LSU, he did have this one standout season, which, as you can see, was his junior year where he cracked 1,000 yards. He had 4.8 yards was his average, 6 touchdowns. Really wasn't much of a receiver out of the backfield. But up until that point, it looked to me like he was just used basically as a second or third back or perhaps just a buff back, which is basically my term for someone who, you get in between the tackles to get the yards. 446 yards on the ground in 2020, only 3 touchdowns. And in his freshman year, 295, 6 touchdowns. Again, not much of a receiver, but I do like that. That junior year numbers. I really do like that. Especially for a guy his size, 232. That's carrying some weight there. So I hope he's going to be really good between the tackles, and I think that's really what we need. And I think that coming into this season, it never hurts to have more running backs. Look, in this offense, obviously, the more running backs, I think, the better. And we've seen what Shanny can do with a lot of the running backs that have come out of this system, how many times he can use them. I mean, look, let's call it like it is. The guy, Shanny, much like his father, is so cerebral when it comes to the running game. If you go back to the great Shanny Sr., he did damage in Denver with Terrell Davis, Mike Anderson, various other running backs. You talk about next man up. Shanny was able to utilize so many other running backs during his stint as head coach in Denver when Terrell Davis went down with that ACL tear. Hence, what made Mike Anderson really famous. There was another running back. I can't think of his name. Olundus Gary was his name. Thank you. Another guy who came and had 1,000-yard season in the midst of injuries in that backfield. But that's what Shanny does, and I think Kyle does the same shit with his running backs, with our running backs, let's face it. And we've seen that you can play anybody back there for the most part, whether it's Mitchell, whether it's Hasty, whether it's Jeff Wilson, whether it's Juice, whether it's George Kittle and Deebo Samuel. So I like this pick. I look, I think that, yeah, if it would have been somebody who people will hire on as running back coming out, I think they would have felt better about this. But you have to trust Shanny's ability to build a running back into what they, into the system. And for so far, we got to go with the fact that we got to trust Shanny with that running back. Moving on, Danny Gray, 6'2", 199. From what I've read, obviously a good long ball receiver. Went to SMU. I saw a couple of, I don't know, websites that rated this as a D-plus type move. I don't put any emphasis on that bullshit. It's kind of like putting emphasis on what Rolling Stone thinks of music. I could give a fuck, okay? Especially now because Rolling Stone's become primarily a political magazine. And, back in the day when they were really on their A game when it came to music, you kind of took their word a little bit more, but I never did anyway. I don't never do that. And the same thing here. We can't really go by a lot of this. We got to see with our own eyes. Now, coming into the season, obviously, Danny Gray is going to have a tough job because there's a good line of wide receivers in front of him, whether it's Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Turner, Ray McLeod, Juwan Jennings. There's going to be a good amount of people in front of him. And I think that hopefully he can find his place there. I really hope he can find his place. Look, I hope things work out for all these guys. Obviously, I know that's not possible. K. Grisar was just commenting on the backfield, man. I like the backfield as we have it right now. How could you not with Mitchell? Mitchell's a stud. Who would have seen that coming? Obviously, Trey Sermon was supposed to be the guy, but Mitchell, stepped in, did damage. I'm a huge Jeff Wilson fan. I love the guy. And I hate to say this. If he was going to leave the 49ers, which I'm happy he did, I think he could have been a potential starter somewhere else just because of his nastiness, the way he runs. He doesn't run like a typical back. He can has some cutback moves, but he can also give you a pop. He's nasty. I love having him here. So I like the backfield. My only wish out of the backfield is that Juice was used more as a wide receiver, the way they used to run things back in the day, with the great Edward DeBartolo, the great Walsh, the great George Seifert, even the great Mariucci, when they used to really run the hardcore West Coast offense. Tom Ratman out of the backfield, banging him, using him as a receiver. I mean, he was even William Bonan Floyd was used as a receiver to an extent, not just a blocker. Juice has to be used more as a running back. So I love the backfield, man. I love it. Getting back to Danny Gray, gonna look at some numbers from some stats. Again, I like some of the video I saw on this guy. I like his size. I hope he turns out to be one thing I do like is in the combine. Look at his numbers, man. He ran a 4.3. Okay, that's some scary shit. I mean, I know he's a wide receiver. He's supposed to be fast, but that's interesting. That's interesting. For 6'2", 199, I hope he's lightning fast. He's what we need. We need another downfield threat. You can't say we don't. And looking at his numbers again, while stats are in, the guy played 2 years. Okay, he only played 2 years at SMU. You can say what you want about the program, whatever. I don't always go by the program because I think that an athlete is an athlete. I always go back to Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State, end the conversation. And he's the greatest motherfucking wide receiver / athlete ever. Not even up for fucking debate. The GOAT is the GOAT. All right. Only played in 8 games in his junior year, 33 catches. 448 yards, 4 touchdowns. They used him a little bit out of the backfield. And then going to his senior year, 49 catches, 803, 16.49 touchdowns. Hey, look. Guy's a long ball receiver, man. He's a threat. We need another threat. Okay? Especially now, look, let's be objective here. I obviously Trey Lance, I think, for the most part, obviously has a better arm than Jimmy G. Okay, he's a totally different quarterback, and I hope that he can stretch the field as we have seen him do in practice, and hopefully, can do it in the game. But that being said, we need another long ball receiver. You can never have too many of those. Debo is what Debo is. Brandon Ayuk, I think, it could be that way. Juwan Jennings seems to really be good around the goal line and whatnot. Ray McLeod's probably going to be a kick returner, all-purpose type guy. But then you got Turner and Johnson, right? It sounds like a fucking law firm. I love it. I hope they turn out to be a dynamic duo. Who are two more field stretches, and Danny Gray. Look, worst comes to worst, you redshirt Danny Gray, and you sit him, you put him in the practice squad. It never hurts. We've seen great things from guys like that sometimes. All right, so I think it was a smart draft move. Let's go on to somebody else. Spencer Burford, 6'5", 295. In the fourth round. I don't know much about this guy, but I do like the fact that they did go offensive line because, let's face it, you lost Lake and Tomlinson. You lost Compton. We don't know what Alex Mack is going to come back and play, but I like this draft pick. I love offensive linemen. I'm one of the guys who feels you can never have too many. And San Francisco, for the most part, always turns out really good offensive linemen. Just look at their history for the most part, unless it's, look, you're always going to have your obviously your misses, whether it's Kwame Harris or other guys. But for the most part, they've done a damn good job of turning offensive linemen into studs. So I think this was a good move. And looking at let's just look at a couple more things on Burford. I don't think there was another way for them to go. 6'4", 309. This is some of his combine stats here. It doesn't give you everything. I don't know why. 5'1", 40 yard. For an offensive lineman who's only 295, it's a tad bit slow. So I'm wondering if he has to maybe bulk up a bit. Maybe, I don't know, get quicker feet. Whatever the case may be, I don't really see him obviously getting a lot of playing time this year behind Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, and obviously Colton McKivitz have the spot there, but you never know what can happen. But again, you stockpile the offensive linemen. You never know. In this league, offensive linemen go down so easily because of the intensity of their position. So I think it's a good thing. I want to see this guy turn out to be good, as I do with all these draft picks. Moving on. Samuel Womack, Toledo Rockets, 5'10", 187. Look, we know we needed defensive back help here, even with the moves we made in this offseason. I think cornerback's another position you can never have enough of. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Jaworski Tart. Is he going to come back? Is he not? We're kind of set there with Jimmy Ward. But look, corner is one of those positions you can just never have too many. Okay, 5'10", 187. It's funny. I've always been a fan of corners 6 and over. I mean, you look at Sauce Gardner, who's a freak of nature, a diamond in the rough. You're not always going to be able to get corners that are that tall. But in this case, 5'10", 187. But hey, look, that doesn't mean it's a lot better than 5'8". Okay, it's a lot better than being 5'8", that's for sure, especially for playing a position like that. And again, he's going to come into the season, and he's going to have a long line of players in front of him. Now, again, that doesn't mean that's going to work against him. It just means it's going to help him to prove his worth. And as we all know, that's one of the hardest positions to do so, especially in the NFL where you're playing. There's not even a lot of information on him. Look at that. Nothing on Womack, which is kind of weird. No stats, no nothing. I don't know why. Anyway. It's not going to be hard for him. Look, we lack or have lacked, and I'm not dissing anyone like Emmanuel Mosley because I like him, but we've lacked a superior corner for some time. It takes me back to the days of the great Eric Davis, the great Don Griffin, obviously the great Deion Sanders, who we only had for a season in 94, 95 when we won our last chip. And it's hard, man, because corner, I think, is an area where we were really tight on, especially defensive backfield. The great Merton Hanks, the great Ronnie Lott. That's an area that we we really have to get back to being superior. Now, with the signing of Shavarius Ward from the Kansas City Chiefs, look, I already said it in my last couple of podcasts. I thought it was way too much money given the years. I hope the guy turns out to be a stud. I really do. Time will only tell, but there's no doubt that Womack's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to have a rough time. I hope he makes the team. And if worse comes to worse, again, another guy you put on the practice squad. That's what they're there for. The next guy, again, from what I've seen on tape, I love his size. 6'5", 325, Nick Zakiljay. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But looking from what I've seen from him on tape, definitely got some nice traits, man. Again, offensive line is an area you can never have too many of. The good thing is that you have the wiggle room, too, to kind of, depending on the guy. I mean, 6'5", 325, obviously you say that's offensive tackle without a doubt. From wingspan, if given that he has a long wingspan, you have a lot. Same thing with Burford, 6'5", man. But Burford doesn't have the weight to be a tackle. I think he's kind of light in that position. Also, from looking at his 440, he would need to definitely speed up without a doubt. But moving over to this gentleman, okay, from what I see from his combine numbers, he too is in the slower speed 5.13. Okay, that's got to improve, especially for NFL. Bench 27. So I think what they do is give you 225, right? Is that the weight? 225. And you have to bench. He benched it 27 times, which obviously shows he's a powerful motherfucker. Okay, well, you should be. In shuttle, he was 4.7, which is interesting. I like those numbers there. He went to Fordham. Okay. Look, on the combine numbers are different. They got him at 6'6", 316, as opposed to what I found here, him being 6'5", 325. So I think I'm going to go by the combine numbers, obviously. Given whatever the case may be, look, we need another tackle. Okay, we hope Mike Mcglinchey comes back to his norm. Look, Mcglinchey is a questionable guy. I want to give him all the credit in the world because I like his size. I like what he can do when he's on. But we've seen the other Matt Mcglinchey too, Mike Mcglinchey rather, who's been who's missed, and now the injury. So two guys, opposite sides of the ball, that we have to hope come in to reprove themselves this season: Mcglinchey and Javon Kinlaw. Okay, I don't think I'm out of line saying that either. Moving to the next pick, which was the second in the 6th round, Kalia Davis, UCF Knights, University of Central Florida, 6'2", 310. I automatically think of Anthony Adams when I see that size, even though Adams, I think, was a little smaller in height-wise. But I also think of DJ Jones, because DJ Jones was about 6 feet tall and weighed 300 and more. I love guys like that. I love bowling balls, dude. We need run stuffers like that. Look, let's face it. How many people knew that much about DJ Jones when he first came out? And when he started kicking fucking ass 2 seasons ago, we had a steal in a draft. So losing him kills us. I hope this guy could turn out to be similar like that, man. I really do. 6'2", 310. Let's look at some numbers from Davis. And again, you hope that you could see the difference between combine numbers in terms of their height and stuff like that, as opposed to this other website that I have. Kalia Davis, Central Florida, doesn't really have anything on him in terms of the combine. Let's look at his college stats. Played 4 years at Central Florida. Looks to have missed his junior year. I guess it could have been with injury. I don't know if anyone knows. Please let me know. Played linebacker in his freshman year. Played 9 games. 2.5, no sacks rather. I'm sorry. Second year, plays defensive line. Appears in 11 games. Decent numbers: 27 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Junior year is a zip. And senior year, again, only plays 5 games. I don't know whether COVID had something to do with that. Only had 1 sack. Look, let's consider him a project player. Okay, for a 6th round pick. 6'2", 310. Let's hope he turns out to be somewhat of a project player. Because look, our defensive backfield, our defensive line, we all know is our strong point, along with our rushing offense. And losing DJ Jones was huge. Losing Arden Key was huge. Obviously, Armstead and Bosa are the guys that generate the pressure. Two magnificent seasons from them this past season. We need Javon Kinlaw to be exactly what we drafted him to be. We need Hassan Ridgeway to be the solid guy he's been so far in his career. You know, he's not going to get you 5 to 6 sacks, but he's going to stuff some run with his big body, and he's also going to help generate pass rush from the other guys around him if he takes on 2 offensive linemen. So again, another position where you can never have too many defensive players, and I hope this guy turns out to be a stud. Moving on to the last pick in the 6th round, Tariq Castro. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I really have. Penn State, 6 foot 194. Again, the second corner drafted by the Niners in this draft. I'm hoping, again, I know it's not going to be easy for him, given what's in front of him. But look, let's look on the bright side here. What do we got from him? He ran a 4.38. I'll take that. 6'1". Again, difference in numbers. They got him at 6'1", here. Let's look at some of his stats. Played 4 years. Actually, no, he played, seemed to have played 5 years. I don't know how he was eligible to play 5 years unless there was an injury somewhere. He got redshirted halfway through, whatever the case may be. Only 3 picks in 5 years. Had a sack in 5 years. 10 tackles for loss in 5 years. Played 12 games in 2018, 12 games in 2019, and 12 games in 2021. I'm going to say 2020 was a bust because of an injury. But look, it's crowded back there. That's all I'm going to say. It's crowded in that defensive backfield. We have really, I love Jimmy Ward. George Oakham, who we signed from the Colts, hope turns out to be a stud. I hope they bring back Jaworski Tart. I thought he had one of his best seasons. I know everyone's going to say he dropped the interception. I know. It happens. You know, easier said than done. Shavarius Ward, Manuel Mosley. You know, I like all those guys. They re-signed Dante Johnson. You know, he's obviously a not a starter. Diamador Lenore, right? Hopefully he improves in his second year. So it's going to be crowded in that backfield. Hey, look, why not take? You got you bring in two rookie defensive backfield guys, and you see what you can do with them. You see where it goes. I mean, this is what you do with draft picks sometimes, especially sometimes later on in the draft. You start to look at your roster and say, okay, we're kind of full here. We kind of have an idea of who's going to start there. Let's bring in some prospects. Let's up. I'm of the opinion you up the competition for every damn position. Hence be why I'm going to bring up the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. Somebody was asking me, why would you draft another quarterback? I say, why not? Because let's face it, Jimmy G, we hope he comes back to be what he's going to be after the injury. We hope Trey Lance is the future. Nate Sudfeld, I don't know why he's there, but hey, let's have the competition. Bring in another quarterback. Make it a 4. Make it a 5. I hope they get another 5th one. I say give Lance and Garoppolo as much competition as you possibly can. We need the best quarterback available. We're not fucking around anymore here, man. I like Brock Purdy's story. 6'1", 220, obviously doesn't have, big body numbers in terms of height and whatnot. But, let's look at some numbers from Brock Purdy. Obviously, Shanny loves his quarterbacks. We know he likes to, get different guys in there and work with them. There's something that they saw that caught their eye. What I heard, Brian Greasy liked what he saw from him. Okay, he runs a 4.8. Okay, so not too bad for a quarterback at least, although I don't know if he's going to be a scrambler. 721 in the 3-cone. Let's see, 4.45 in the shuttle. And let's bring up some college stats. He played at Iowa State. All right. Let's see what we got here. So there's Brock Purdy stats, passing stats. Threw for over 12,000 yards in 4 seasons at Iowa State. Look, high percentage. I like his touchdown to interception ratio 16-7, 27-9, 19-9, 19-8. Guy looks to have solid numbers, and he's accurate. Running the ball, had some luck. 308 yards on the ground his rookie season, 249 in his second, 382, and then 238. So he's got some feet. Hey, the more talented this guy is, the better, I think, for us. Why not? Why not get another quarterback in there? And he does have great completion stats, really accurate, K. Grissar. I agree with you. And I think, again, that's in Shanny's wheelhouse right there. That's. I think if you look back at 49 quarterback pedigree history, look at all the accurate quarterbacks we've had that have had really good completion percentage. Whether it's the great Joe Montana or the great Steve Young or Alex Smith, I think that's something that's overlooked so many times in football because the narrative being throw the ball downfield and get yards, get yards, get yards. I'll take the high completion percentage. That shows me something. Looking at this guy's stats, 6'1", 220, and again, from the limited info I know and have about him, but just looking at the numbers, he kind of could, I don't know, he's got like I know Drew Brees was smaller, but he's got that kind of built into it a little bit. Maybe a little more mobile. But you never know what you get out of these guys. Look, even if he doesn't turn out, obviously, to be a starter, which I don't think he will, he may beat out Nate Sudfeld because I'm still trying to figure out why Nate Sudfeld was re-signed. I don't get it to be a third. I thought they would have brought in another veteran to kind of help mentor Trey Lance, kind of help compete with Jimmy G. But I guess Jimmy G they're going to be using as that position now. I don't know. Brian Griese could be looked at that, but I don't know if I'm sold on Brian Griese as a quarterback coach just yet. He may be a better quarterback coach than he was an actual playing quarterback, so we'll see. But this is just a review of our draft. I like what we have. I gave it kind of a B+. You could always say shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I don't think you can really. Again, I would have hoped that we would have tried to get more capital, but it didn't happen. But it is what it is. This is the 49er 2022 draft class. And let's hope for the best, man, from these guys. Good luck to all these young men. I hope that they do damage in the red and gold. I hope they all make the team and become big-time contributors, man. All right, you've been hanging with the Niners Nut. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Shoot me some comments. Shoot me some messages, whether you like it, whether you hate me, whether you think I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, whether you like what I'm talking about. It's all good. I respect it. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube page, if you will. Let's talk, Niner fans. All right. Niner Nut is out.